talked about Persians.
Yes.
Fighting the Persians and fighting the Romans.
Yeah.
They said the Abyssinians leave them alone.
Yeah, he said the Abyssinians.
So is that sound?
From what I know from my teachers, that is a sound hadith. It's important, and I should say that the introduction to the Walking Quran covers much of this material because it's about the relationship between Africans, Islamic knowledge, and the Quran. Okay, so read that. But it's important to recall a number of things in this respect. First, Islam becomes present in sub-Saharan Africa before the beginning of Islamic time. What does that mean? Islamic time begins with the Hijrah. That's the year 1. But there are 2 Hijras that happen before the Hijrah that begins the Muslim calendar. In 615 and 616 CE, 2 successive delegations are sent to settle in Abyssinia. So Islam goes to sub-Saharan Africa before Islamic time begins. 1. 2, Bilal. Yeah, be well pleased with him. Was according to most accounts, the second adult male to accept Islam after Sayyidina Abu Bakr. May Allah be well pleased with them both. Before them were only, in most accounts, Khadija, may Allah be well pleased with her, as an adult female, and Sayyidina Ali. May Allah be well pleased with them all. So Islam begins with black people as part of the story right from the beginning. I tell the story of 3 that the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, emulate the blacks, because amongst them are 3 lords of the people of paradise. Bilal the Muezzin, the Najashi, the Negus of Ethiopia, the king of Ethiopia that gave shelter to those Muslims, and Luqman. Many people read Surah Luqman and don't know that it's about a black man. And the Arabs that make exegesis of the Quran tell you that Luqman was not a prophet. In spite of the fact that he gets a whole surah of the Quran to himself and his teachings. يا بني إنها إن تكون مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. If there's a mustard seed inside a rock or in the heavens or the earth, Allah will bring it out. If there's any little bit of truth that the people have tried to hide, Allah's going to bring it out. If it's the truth about our past or any other, Allah's going to bring it out. So the truth is that we've been part of this story from the very beginning. If you watch the videos from the Mystic Motherland Conference, Imam Dawood Walid from CARE Foundation actually gave a talk that talked about how the color terminology used to describe Arabs in that time was nothing like the color terminology used to describe Arabs at this time. You know, some of the color language that was used to describe Sayyidina Bilal, referring to him as Asmar Shadiq, very brown, was actually used to describe Sayyidina Ali in many authentic hadiths. And the Prophet ﷺ had a dream that he and his companions interpreted, where he saw a group of black sheep being overwhelmed by a crowd of white sheep. And he asked what the interpretation is. And I believe it's Sayyidina Abu Bakr, God forgive me if I'm wrong, that said it's the Ajam overwhelming the Arabs in this religion. The Ajam in the dream are white, and the Arabs in the dream are black. So I'm not saying that the Arabs of that time were what we would think of as Africans, but rather there weren't any pasty white people walking around the desert in Arabia in that 110-degree heat under that sun at that point in time. The color of contemporary Arabs has been brightened by the conquest of those European and Caucasian, areas. And so that we should, leave open, the color of what, some of the heroes, look like, and stick to what the sources tell us. So when Rasulullah ﷺ tells us that he saw Moses and that he was a black man, we take it at face value. But we also keep in mind that the Quran itself, and this is a very important point, and we can close on this inshallah or take questions, that the Quran itself does not use any color language or hair texture descriptions to refer to any of the characters in its stories. It's truly universal. It doesn't say this one was white, this one was black, this one was red. Hadith often give details because the Prophet ﷺ will report things that he saw. But the Quran itself leaves the human being racially unmarked. Because it's the only universal book. It's meant to speak to the Malaysian and the African and the Eskimo all the same. The only place where something close to color language is used is to refer to Adam. Because Adam actually meant in Old Arabic very black. And the Quran tells us that Adam was formed from a fermented black mud. So when you see racism and anti-black hatred, and my tribe is better than your tribe, know that it's only the madhab of the shaitan, who refused to bow to that lump of black mud as he saw it. And that when you see people saying, my tribe's better than your tribe, I'm better than you, that's nothing but the madhab of the shaitan. I was made from fire, and he was made from clay. I'm better than him. My origins are better than his. The truth of the matter is that we are, Ahmad Bamba says this in one of his, in Masalik al-Jannah. He said, the cure to the sin of pride is to know that you are all the children of Adam, and it is from dust that you were created. Nothing's lower than that. He said, he quoted the hadith, he said, you begin your life as a nasty drop of sperm. You live your life as a walking sack of feces, and you end your life as a corpse, odious and rotting. We are all the children of Adam, and it is from dirt that we were created. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما خلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي الى صراطك المستقيم وعلى اله وصحبه المقدار العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين اصل السطور اصل الامور ذات الخيور بلا تداعي يا من اجاب من استجاب خلي اجابه في زمن داعي امين.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Jazakumullah khairan for coming and listening and being so patient. I wanted to just very briefly make this statement so that when we have sessions like this, when he was reading off the things that I wanted him to speak to you about, some of us may say, well, you know, I think for most of us, we don't have to wonder why is it important, right? When we ask the question, why don't we know this? That tells you that it was important enough for them to leave it out. But more importantly than that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he reminded us that he who knows himself knows his Lord. So when you don't know yourself, you don't know your own history, it absolutely affects the way that you relate to Allah Ta'ala. Whether or not he cared enough about you, were you in the book? Were you a part of this story? Was this my story, or did you adopt it from somebody else? And so it's extremely important for our own personal iman and for our yaqeen, but it's also, of course, important for as we're giving dawah, as other people begin to tell our story, that we're able to say, no, hold up, wait a minute, no, that's not the story. That's not how that went.
That's right.